When I was 7 years old, my parents sent me to be educated with a Church of England school, also known as the Anglican Church. And from the age of 7 up until grade 12, till I was about 17, the first half an hour each day was the Bible. This is the way the Church of England did their schooling system back then. And I also was invited at the age of 7 to a local Sunday school. And so from the age of 7 again until I left for Canada, I was attending that church also. So throughout all of those years, I was reading the Bible and trying to learn from the Bible what the Bible had to teach. Certainly the Gospels I had read many, many times throughout those years, and especially the words of Christ. Somebody gave me as a gift when I was about 12 or 13 a red letter New Testament, first one I'd ever seen, where all the words of Christ are in red. So I read, of course, the words of Christ in the Gospels many, many times throughout those years. And the local church I was attending, they did not believe in the second coming, the glorious second coming of Christ. So I never heard that taught to me. The Anglican Church also never mentioned it, and they didn't talk about it either. And certainly the local church I was attending didn't talk about it. I read it for myself in the Bible, in the Gospels, what Jesus taught, and in the first chapter of the book of Acts. And it became very clear to me at the age of 12, 13, 14, that Jesus Christ was going to come back one day, literally, to this earth, to reign over this earth for 1,000 years. And then I came to Canada when I was 18, and I, shall we say, ran into the fundamental Christian churches of North America. And then I heard something about this rapture teaching. And as I studied it and listened to what they had to say, it was obvious that this was a secret rapture. They don't like to maybe use that word secret, but the fact is the teaching, by the very nature of the teaching, it has to be a secret rapture, that nobody knows when it's going to happen. It could happen any second, and Jesus will come down from heaven, kind of sweep by the earth, pick up his saints, take them back to heaven for 7 years or 3.5 years, depending on who is teaching this, as to how long the Great Tribulation will last. But here is this secret, invisible, nobody knows. All of a sudden people are gone and their clothes are lying on the ground. So it has to be a secret rapture. Well, this means that you've got 3 comings of Christ. You've got his first coming, you've got the secret rapture coming, and then 7 or 3.5 years later, you've got the visible, powerful return of Jesus Christ. So you've actually got 3 comings of Christ. Well, it's not taught in the Bible, friends. The first and second comings of Jesus Christ are taught over and over again in the Old Testament. The New Testament likewise teaches a second glorious coming of Christ, but 3 comings of Christ are not taught in the Bible. Now I want to go to Matthew 24, because in Jesus' own words, he's going to tell you how his second glorious coming is going to be. Matthew chapter 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, you see all these things? Truly I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now some teach that when Titus and the Roman armies in 70 AD came and destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, it was kind of wiped clean like a billiard table. No, it was not, friends. because the Wailing Wall that we have today in Jerusalem was a part of the outer walls of the temple of Jesus's day. And so that Wailing Wall is still there. It is still part of the old temple. And according to Jesus, one stone is not going to be left upon another. That prophecy is yet to take place, when the remaining of this Wailing Wall is going to come crashing down. And we'll see it as we go through Matthew 24. Verse 3, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and his disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of this age or world, the end of this age, man's age, and the coming of Christ and the age to come to be set up as the Bible teaches and as the New Testament teaches, the world to come, the age to come. So that's what they asked him. Please tell us, give us an outline. And Jesus started to give them the outline in verse 4. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name. They're coming as representatives of me, saying that I am the Christ. In other words, Jesus is the Christ. The Messiah is Jesus Christ. They will be teaching that. And shall deceive many. So people can come and say that Jesus is the Christ, he is the Son of God, and yet in all of their teachings, they can be deceiving people. Verse 6, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in different places. These are the beginning of sorrows. Verse 9, then shall they deliver you, my disciples. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, persecution, and shall kill you. And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Friends, do you see what Jesus is saying here? He is saying there is going to be an end time persecution of saints. And many of those saints are going to die in that persecution. It's like all times through history. God's people at various times have been persecuted. Some of them have been put to death. Some of them have managed not to be put to death. They've fled to the valleys and the hills and the forests. And that's happened all the way down through the centuries for God's people. But here at the end time, before Jesus comes, there's going to be another persecution of saints where some are going to have to die and be killed for their faith. Verse 10, and then shall many of you be offended, and shall betray one another, and hate one another. This is between physical people on this earth, turning in, ratting on somebody, and then persecution coming on those people. But there's going to be all of this going on before Jesus Christ returns. Verse 11, and many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many, not the few. It says here that many false prophets will arise and shall deceive the many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Well, we're living in those days, my friends. Iniquity is abounding today in our world, especially in the Western world. Iniquity is abounding in so many different ways. Sin and wickedness and abominations of this and that and teachings that are abominable and all kinds of iniquity is abounding in our Western world especially, but also in the other parts of the world as well. Iniquity is abounding. Anything that is against the teachings of God, the inspiration of the words of the Holy Bible, anything that is against that is iniquity. And it surely is abounding today in the world. Verse 13, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel